Riverdale sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provided a list of content warnings in the episode description. Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
And I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of Riverdale for you from season 2.
Oh boy. And some episodes they are.
They're all right.
Yeah.
I think if we were horror people, then we would have enjoyed the first episode we recap, episode 20, right?
Yeah, because there's a lot of references.
Or chapter 20, I should say. There's a lot of horror references. So much so that I can recognize that they're horror references. I think that that's fun. I think it's a really good, it's a good thing to do on this show. It makes sense. It kind of is just like a filler episode, though. Mm-hmm. I feel like both of these are kind of filler episodes. I feel.
Well,
the second one's just weird.
Yeah, I just don't like the stuff they're doing in episode 2. In the second episode that we had, chapter 21. Yeah, at least plot wise.
Yeah,
it's moving things along, but I just don't like the direction.
And this is where Riverdale starts to do the break up, get together, break up, get together, break up, get together that we know from teen television so well. And to me, like, the show did not need it at this level. The show has, like, there's always like a mystery going on or like a villain or a plot. Like, as the show goes on, there's a reason that moves the plot forward that has nothing to do with these interpersonal romantic relationships. And I think that romantic relationships make teen television. Mm-hmm. I think they're an important part of it. I love them very much. And I don't even mind a good, like, thinking back to like Pretty Little Liars, like a Toby's A, or like the first time it's like, well, Toby's protecting Spencer, so he broke up with her the first time. But when you do it repetitively, like this show is already doing, it gets annoying and you stop rooting for the couples. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a certain point in the show where you, the viewer, and me, the viewer again, you just don't care anymore. I'm like, Betty can, I don't know, go fuck Veronica. Like, I don't care. Like, have fun, girl. Do something.
You may already be here. This is the third time that Jughead and Betty have, like, split.
Yeah, and you're just like, go move on with someone else. Anyone else. Like, and it's just going to keep happening. So buckle up, strap in.
And on that, should we move into our cast then?
Yeah.
All right. So everybody's favorite cantankerous person, Penny Peabody, is played by Britt Morgan. So the character of Penny Peabody is actually from Little Archie comics again, and is the girlfriend of Fangs. So, but as in more Riverdale era Archie comics, was like aged up to high school and still like Fang's girlfriend.
So not an adult woman who's gone to law school who is a gang member and also the group lawyer, but she screws everyone over? Mm-hmm. Question mark?
Yeah. The worst lawyer you ever see.
Well, but she's good. She got FP out of jail.
Yeah. Oh, right. That's
I
actually,
have
sorry.
So many questions about her. Like, when she shows up at court, what does she look like? This?
Okay. Actually, but sorry. Just to double back real quick. She didn't get FP out of jail. She got lucky that Cheryl ended up on the stand being like, you know what? Fuck them.
That was because of her.
She like gave some broad advice.
But then
I don't think it was that great of advice.
The real reason he got out was then, I thought, was because of her, because then that's why Jughead lies to the other people and says like, oh, they had overcrowding.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's true. Because he does say that, yeah, it's like, he gets out of
one of these episodes.
So you think she pulled strings to get him out?
I think she, presented some sort of case that got him at least his sentence reduced, or was able to present as his lawyer, like, hey, Cheryl did XYZ, so.
Okay.
Which was under her advisement.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a good person, but she might be a good lawyer.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Sound off in the comments if you know.
Yeah.
Make the case.
And show us you're a good lawyer at home. So Britt Morgan I pulled at least a couple more recurring roles that she's done. Done a lot of one-off, but she was Debbie Pelt in True Blood before this.
Okay.
I did not see True Blood, but I know it was, very big. Leslie Willis / Livewire in Supergirl.
Uh-huh.
I did not watch any of the CW superhero shows. And then was in 10 episodes of Graceland as Amber. So there you go. That's that's Britt Morgan.
Love it.
All right, so our next person, guest star this week, very famous, also talking about, referencing knowing horror movies, Tony Todd, who actually recently passed away. This was in November of 2024, had stomach cancer. Terrible. And I'm pretty sure...
Not that anyone's way of dying is ever good, but...
No, it's like really sad.
Yeah.
And he was pretty young. Well, he was 69. So, I mean, not definitely young.
Yeah.
Definitely sucks. But he is best known for playing the title character in the Candyman films. So he's, the antagonist, the Candyman.
Which is a great homage to is he the sugar man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All connected back around. And so that first film is the one I think that a lot of people know of. It's more referenced. It came out in the 90s, but they did a recent remake of that. But he was also part of the sequels for those. Kind of Candyman in those is like a Bloody Mary, but within like a black housing project in Chicago. So it's like you say his name 5 times and he appears.
Oh.
He was also a William Bloodworth in the Final Destination franchise. He's like a mortician who's like, yes, I know all about death.
Ooh.
Death is coming for you. Oh man, I haven't seen those in forever.
The uncle from
Ravenswood.
Ravenswood.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I do not remember his character in those. He's only in the first 2, and then I think like the 5th. I don't know. I did enjoy I saw those movies over the first and second and bits and pieces on like TV and stuff. Those are fun movies. Big fan. It's kind of just like Rube Goldberg machines because there's like no specific like antagonist coming to like kill him. There's no like Michael Myers or something, or in this case Candyman. It's just like inanimate objects start like toppling over or shorting.
Everyone always references the logs in the back of the truck on the highway.
Yeah, from the second one.
Mm-hmm.
The one
Isn't there one where there's a tanning bed? Someone gets locked in a tanning bed.
I think that's 3.
That to me is like, I mean, I've never been in a tanning bed, which is shocking considering when we went to high school, but I knew that I would get got by skin cancer. I was like, this is not the skin that this is not the skin of a killer.
Mm-hmm. But that didn't entice
I was
you.
actually glittering like the skin of a killer. That's actually me and my Bath and Body Works shimmery lotion. But
not too far off.
Yeah, that always freaked me out.
There's one in the first one that I thought was hilarious, where it's like, this is just overkill. It's like they trip on something, fall on a knife, the house catches on fire, like they get electrocuted. It's like so many things. It's really funny.
It's like steps on a rat trap down the stairs.
100%.
And then you see Noel Kahn's head roll past you.
Beautiful. We love it.
Never forget.
He was also in Platoon, also in The Crow, which is a little bit before our time, but 94, but very influential on the goth scene. Also a prolific voice actor. So for me, also, he voices the Vortigaunts in the Half-Life video game series, which is wild to me. Anyways, moving on to other things that people might know. Outside of video games. You're like, sure. He was...
I was like, you spoke a different language.
They're these little alien guys. They're like these good alien guys, yeah.
Are you a good alien or a bad alien?
Yes, there are good aliens and bads. There's the Combine and the Vortigaunts are the good ones. He was the Fallen in Michael Bay's Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
Ooh.
Bringing it back around to last week, the Spider-Man 2 video game for 2023. He voiced Venom in that game. And his final role was actually in the recent Indiana Jones video game that came out at the end of 2024. So... many other prolific things, and also like stage actor, like classically trained, I think. Sorry, I might be speaking out of turn there, but longtime actor, did lots of variety of roles, known for horror, but yeah, give it up. And then finally, we have Mr. Svensson, who's played by Cameron McDonald. In the comics, he's Swedish, very bashful, and speaks with a thick accent that is often hard for Archie and the friends to understand. Apparently, his catchphrase is "By Yiminy."
Ah, yes. What I always yell.
Yeah, Cameron McDonald doesn't get as much as those roles here or those voice lines, but he's in lots of things and lots of one-off roles in TV movies. A lot of Canadian things, as per other actors on this, but also some Hallmark. So was in Wedding of a Lifetime, The Mistletoe Connection, Game Set Love, and The Engagement Backup. So good for him.
Get it.
Just one of those things that I would just never know. I know like Hallmark is just like its own separate thing, but like that I have no like view into, but I know just like steadily like people just have like good work. That's just like doing the work there. So good for them. All right, that is it for this week. And now on to chapter 20, Tales from the Dark Side. So, speaking of references to horror things, the episode title comes from a George A. Romero TV anthology series in 1983. And you know how you mentioned the opening text crawl? You're like, this has got to be from something? Uh-huh. It's from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, I was like, it's one of those found footage films, but I don't know which one. Is that a found footage film?
I don't think so.
Oh, then I'm wrong.
Yeah, I thought it would be found footage too.
Horror knowledge is limited. I saw...
Well, that's when we grew up. Really.
When a stranger calls at a sleepover, like I mentioned last week, I think that was mentioned last week, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And then I also watched in theaters Paranormal Activity, and I was so scared that night when I went home, I slept in my brother's room on his futon with his cat laying next to my head.
Yeah, everybody kept saying
and she yelled at me all night, but. The cabinets did not open, and no
like
one
her.
stole me from my bed. Yeah,
and you know that it wasn't haunted because she's meowing at you.
Yeah.
If she was quiet.
My cat, my brother's cat, she was supposed to be my cat. We got 2 kittens. My grandmother's cat had 2 kittens, and it was a boy and a girl, and I was 10, and my parents had just gotten divorced, and so my mom said I could have the cats. So we brought them home, and my brother was supposed to have the boy, and I was supposed to have the girl. I named her Salem, which I thought was very cool, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch vibes. And I decided it was like why couldn't a girl cat be named Salem? Like witch hunts, like it made sense.
Yeah.
So I named her Salem, and she was they're both black cats, and she hated me and only liked my brother. She has since passed, but only recently. She lived to be about 20.
Yeah.
And her brother Speedy, my brother named, he's the faster kitten. He only liked my mother. He did become the family cat eventually. So I wanted the cats, and I was left with no cat that loved me.
I'm so sorry.
It was a great way to spend my age 10. And then I went to a park, and a random kitten came up to me, and I couldn't find its owner. So then I got a yellow and white cat named Crookshanks. Mm-hmm. Well, I named him Crookshanks. He wasn't named that. I was deep in my Harry Potter phase. I was just 11.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
We understand.
I wouldn't name a cat that now. Well, we're both allergic to cats. So.
Exactly.
I was also horribly allergic to cats, and we just ignored that as a family.
Yeah. We just won't be naming cats in general because they'll be someone else's.
But anyway, that cat did lay next to my head and yell at me for sleeping in my brother's room all night. So I did not sleep, but I also was not got by the ghosties or the paranormal poltergeist or whatever.
Right.
I don't really know what the thing was supposed to be that was attacking them.
They're supposed to be ghosts or something, right?
Yeah, like a poltergeist or like a scary monstery spirit. But I just remember all the cabinet doors opening in the movie, and I remember the blankets being pulled off the bed, and the blankets being pulled off the bed while they were sleeping in it actually like really freaked me out. Like that gave me a very visceral panic feeling. Like I was like, that would be horrifying. And so that's why I like to tuck my blankets in real tight.
Yeah. Can't get it
Actually, I've always slept like that, but
it didn't discourage you.
No. But anyway, enough about me and my cat.
Yeah.
That didn't like me.
Yeah, and I miss Paranormal Activity. Not that I miss it. It was like other people were seeing it at the same time and had already seen it, but I didn't push it because I wasn't a horror person.
We went to all go see it like as a big friend group, and then we went to Denny's after, and then we were all going to spend the night at my friend Aaron's house because his mom didn't care, and then my mom was weirdly like, no, you have to come home.
Rude.
And I was like, that's not, my mom she's not like that, but then every now and then she was weirdly like that, and I was like, what is wrong with you? don't know. I think menopause was
The cause.
which is fair. And she was raising a teenager. Like, hats off to her.
Cut her some slack.
Yeah.
All right. So at the beginning, we get the text scroll that we were talking about is in reference to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That we're about to see 3 tales from the Black Hood murders, and the latest chapter began with a letter attached to the front door of Pop's chocolate shop. We see many members of the town reading the letter in the paper that the Black Hood will continue to get rid of sinners in the town if the town continues to sin, and they have 24 hours essentially to shape up. Jughead and Betty lie in bed, and Betty worries about how the Black Hood got into the sheriff's station. She has a theory that she doesn't share with Jughead, but we later see as part of her story. Jughead gets a call from Penny calling in a favor and wants to meet at Pop's. And then we get a title card that's Jughead and Archie. Jughead meets with Penny. He doesn't want to do a favor for her, and Penny says FP got jumped by the ghoulies in jail because of Jughead trapping the ghoulies in the race. Penny wants him to pick up a crate and deliver it to Greendale. This is our first reference to Greendale. She assures him that he's not drug running at all. He's just dropping something off. She also tells him he needs a car and shouldn't be in Greendale after midnight. So Greendale, we'll see later, is in Sabrina. Archie asks what's up with, Archie and Jughead catch up on the job at school, and Cheryl pushes them aside. We see this later, but calls them Bert and Ernie.
Also, is Jughead going to Riverdale High again?
It's a good question. Archie offers to help Jughead, and they take Archie's dad's truck. They get to the giant crate and drive off. Archie asks what's up with Jughead being a serpent, and like, what's his goal? And Jughead's like, I don't know. And Archie professes his dream, the two of them living together in New York and being artists, and it would just be the two of us. And Jughead's like, well, where are the girls in this? It's like, well, they have their own separate apartment, of course. You know, I don't think he's thinking of the girls in this. I think he just wants to run away with you, Jughead.
Yeah, they'd have their boys' apartment in the artsy part, and then the other two would live on like the Upper West Side or Brooklyn, or I can't remember where he said where Betty and Veronica would live in their apartment. And I was like, oh, just kiss.
Exactly. Archie, well, Jughead's not return. He doesn't return the same feelings, and it's poor Archie that's, you know, he's thinking that it might work out, but his friend just isn't interested, I don't think.
Also, Archie's always like, oh, the serpents. I'm like, I think your friend's skipping school a lot.
I don't care about that. Skip school for like normal reasons. Don't go join a gang. The truck pops a tire. Jughead insists they call Kevin, not Triple C, good branding stuff, for help. Suddenly, a truck pulls over. Jughead asks for a spare. This is Mayor McGinty, Farmer McGinty. We don't get, that's only his name, but we don't get it within the episode.
No, they don't call him anything, really.
Which is good. I like that he's just a stranger, but it's very, I guess they had to call him something in the script. The guy, the stranger offers a drive, one of them for $20. Jughead offers himself, and the guy agrees to take the crate. Jughead assures Archie he'll be okay. They load the crate, and they see a tarp in the bed in the truck, and the stranger's like, do not look under it.
And there's like flies coming off of it.
All creepy. Jughead and the man drive off from Archie. The man listens to Fire and Brimstone, like evangelical radio in the truck, and he tells Jughead that people think that Black Hood is doing God's work. He tells Jughead that about a myth of the Riverdale Reaper. Archie gets a new tire on his truck from Triple C. He also sees a deer step into the road covered in blood on the border between Greendale and Riverdale.
And then it like turns its head and looks at him. It's really weird.
It's good. I do like this like uncanny kind of moment. Jughead fills up the truck at the gas station while the man goes inside to pay. Jughead notices blood and flies around the tarp. He uncovers it, and it's a deer carcass. The man tells Jughead he wants to get something to eat at the gas station cafe. While they're having something to eat, he tells Jughead about the Riverdale Reaper, who's a man that killed a family with a shotgun. Nobody knows what happens to him, and there's like legend he may still be in Riverdale. He also says there's a cycle to things, and what's happened now, what happened then, and is happening now. Man tries to leave the check with Jughead, but Jughead's like, I don't have any money. I gave you all my money. They get into an argument, and Archie shows up to pay the bill and take the crate, and then the stranger calls them both sinners. Archie and Jughead arrive at their destination and take the crate to the drop-off spot. A man and a woman come up, and the man is packing heat. They're both like dressed in like leather, and they almost kind of look like, almost like old like Gestapo kind of uniforms sort of thing. It's kind of like a David Lynch moment. You almost want to hear like the Twin Peaks, like
Well, I think
kind
this
of like,
whole section with like the weird animal and like it felt very Lynchian.
oh yeah, I could see that too. Because I was thinking, especially this is like moments in like Twin Peaks where you get the little jazz. I forget what the theme's specifically called, but it's like ba-da-da-da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You could kind of see that. It's like almost like this like kind of silly moment. She tells them that Penny told them that Jughead is now her regular delivery boy. The two boys go back to Pops. Archie thinks the Black Hood is making everybody do bad things. Jughead wonders if Riverdale Reaper story is a lead. Jughead invites Archie to investigate with him, and Archie's like, well, I'm busy helping Moose and stuff, and I'm having dinner with Veronica tomorrow, but I can the day after. And then he asks if Jughead can get out of this, and Jughead's like, I'll try. The next day, Jughead visits FP at jail, and he's stunned to find that he's perfectly fine. Jughead visits Penny angry, and she shows him footage of him and Archie delivering the crate, and it's like, you have to do exactly what I do, or I'll send this video to the sheriff. She says FP didn't keep a promise to her, and FP's debt is now Jughead's. We move on to Josie's story, Josie and Cheryl. Josie plays the keyboard late at school, and the janitor surprises her. Mr. Svensson. He leaves the door unlocked for her to leave late while he locks up the school, and she eventually leaves and feels like she's being followed. Turns out her and her mom are now living at the Five Seasons because Mayor McCoy is worried about the Black Hood. Her mom is worried about Josie and wants to institute a curfew. The next day, Josie vents to Cheryl about her mom being overly protecting, and that she's practicing and writing music alone without the Pussycats and has a potential record opportunity through Cheryl, but only for solo. She opens her locker to a stuffed bear, and Cheryl's like, that's the third one this week from your secret admirer. Josie practices late again, and Chuck randomly visits her. Uh-oh. He tries to ask her on a date, and Josie asks if he's leaving gifts in her locker, and he makes a lewd joke, and she's like, okay. And shuts him down. Josie catches Cheryl up on Chuck, and Cheryl wants to practice with her later, but Josie pushes back and says, like, don't be controlling like my mom, essentially. And Cheryl's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, I just have a debt to you for saving me from Nick, and I'll just back off. And Josie's like, no, you're being okay. The other Pussycats confront Josie. Melody actually gets her first lines, I think, in the show. Because they received a note in their lockers about Josie going solo and that Josie didn't tell them, they say they're out of the band. Josie walks down the school halls and is scared by Chuck. She asks for a ride home from him because she's freaked out. He takes her on a date to Pops. He says he's changing, and Pop stops by and is like, Chuck, it was great seeing you at church on Sunday. And Josie's like, you are turning around. Did you set that up, you stinker? And he's like, I'm actually trying to be better. And he gets her to dance, and they have a great time.
Meanwhile, a boy going to church now for me would be like, red flag, red
exactly,
flag.
you gotta run. So, Josie, how do you feel about homesteading?
Good God.
And then they're having a great time dancing, and then until her mom interrupts them with the sheriff. Mayor McCoy tells Chuck she doesn't want him within 10 feet of Josie. Fair. Back at the Five Seasons, Mayor McCoy drills into Josie while Sheriff Keller is there. It's like, why is a police chief here while my mom's yelling at me? Mayor McCoy says she's started getting death threats, and the last letter she got mentioned Josie. Sheriff Keller has asked if she's received letters or packages, and Josie's like, no.
Which is so stupid.
She's also kind of freaked out from the bear, so you should probably tell someone. Josie tells Cheryl about the death threats. Cheryl says, I can't believe you went on a date with Chuck, and wonders why she didn't tell Sheriff Keller he's stalking her. We see Mr. Svensson look over. Actually, the screen cap, I believe, from my slideshow. In the music room, they find a gift with a note with a drawing of Josie that says, if I can't have you, no one can. Inside the box, it looks like a heart, like a pig heart. Cheryl and Josie go into the lounge, and then they yell at Chuck. Mr. Svensson starts to intervene and asks if Chuck is the one sending Josie messages. She says yes, and Chuck denies everything. Later, Mayor McCoy and Sheriff Keller catch up with Josie. He doesn't think it was Chuck because they found no evidence of him doing anything. Josie practices late at school as someone comes behind her with a knife. It's the Black Hood who grabs her and cuts her throat, but it's actually all just a nightmare. Cheryl listens back to Josie's song, and we see her draw Josie and herself in the same style as the note that Josie got. The end. We go back to the opening scene for Betty and Veronica's tale. Betty and Jughead, where Betty's mulling over her theory. Kevin, Veronica, and Betty catch up at school. Kevin says his dad isn't sleeping or eating and seems like a different person. Uh-oh. Later, Betty and Veronica catch up. Betty thinks that Sheriff Keller's the Black Hood, much like Emily. And Veronica thinks he's having an affair.
I know. I was like, oh, he's the Black Hood. Me, who always accuses men of cheating, I'm like, well, obviously, no. First thing is he's the Black Hood.
Good. It's a safer bet in a show.
In this show?
Mm-hmm. And then Veronica's like, he's cheating. And then Betty says the Black Hood killed Mr. Phillips at the station, and Veronica says, no, like, I can prove he's having an affair. Veronica then tells Kevin, she's like, I want to have a sleepover at your place. Betty goes to interview Sheriff Keller about the Black Hood. The overnight deputy that night had fallen asleep, and Sheriff Keller was on duty out of the station, and that's how the Black Hood got in. He also pried the door open and goes to show Betty where Phillips was shot. Keller is pissed it happened under his watch. Veronica and Kevin played board games, and Veronica is really just humoring Kevin.
This is me when you're like, you want to play this game, and I really am like, I should. That'd be nice, but I'm like,
oh boy, we moved to this space and got 6 tokens. Which token do I remove?
I was giggling. I was like, I feel this.
Mm-hmm. Veronica gets a call from Betty, who's mad she's having a sleepover during an investigation. Veronica,
she's mad that she is having a sleepover and not inviting her, and that she's only there to look to see if Sheriff Keller's having an affair and not to see if he's the Black Hood.
Mm-hmm. Which is important. Veronica's like, fine, I'll go look around for clues. And Betty wants her to go into the basement. Veronica hears grunting and finds Sheriff Keller lifting. And he's very jacked.
He is.
He's monstrous. He's huge.
I was like, I did not expect that.
Uh-huh.
I've seemingly forgotten all about this plot line.
I did too. Veronica covers that because he's like, what are you doing down here? And she's like, I'm just looking for drinks. There was nothing in the fridge. And he gives her a soda. Veronica says it must be hard without Mrs. Keller, and that we learned that Kevin's mom is stationed in Bahrain. Kevin then comes down. He's like, hey, what are you doing down here, Betty?
Veronica.
Oh, God. What are you doing down here, Veronica? Yeah, I'd also be wondering, what is Betty doing down here? Later that night, Veronica hears Sheriff Keller leave and drive off. Veronica tells Betty the next day that he came back at 4 a.m. Betty shows her an article that a Jingle Jangle addict's body was found near the train tracks. Veronica doesn't think Sheriff Keller is the Black Hood still. Betty waits for Sheriff Keller to leave before breaking into his house. She breaks into his office and finds a murder board for the investigation. She searches all his cupboards and finds a hood in one of the drawers, and Sheriff Keller comes home and surprises her. Hal comes and picks up Betty from the station, and Sheriff Keller says, finding the stuff that she did, it might make me look guilty. And he's like, I'd gotten that hood from when we busted Archie, and like shows Betty his logbook that gives him alibis for all the murders. And he tells Betty that he won't tell Kevin about this because what she did would break his heart. Betty calls Veronica later, and Veronica says she's in for Veronica's like, I'm here to help you, and let's do this for Kevin's sake. But I want to make sure to rein you in because you're going a bit wild card.
You're a little crazy, girl.
They go on a stakeout, and they see Sheriff Keller get in his car late at night and leave. And he arrives at a motel, and they see him grab a bag and go into a room. And they follow him and see him meet up with Mayor McCoy and start kissing.
Yeah, they kiss in the doorway too. I'm like,
you're the mayor.
Hi, Mayor. Oh my gosh. Yesterday morning we were at the gym, and we're in a group that our mayor is also in, it's like a political group thing. And
I was going to say, you should probably define what the group is.
Just nope, leave it up to their imagination. Anyway, and so we've seen like our mayor just, in general, like over Zoom or whatever, and there's this man at the gym, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the mayor, but like I couldn't get Brenton's attention to be like, is that the mayor? And I didn't want to like yell it.
Bye, Mayor.
So then we're leaving, and I was like, bye, Mayor. It's a little Bob's Burgers human for you.
Yeah.
Her human? Bob's Burgers humor for you.
We saw Linda at the gym.
But yeah. So they're everywhere, those mayors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it could have not been him. It could have just been a different white guy, older white guy with a... Yeah, I don't know. He's a very nondescript white man.
There's a lot of them in our town. Veronica and Betty meet up at Pop's later. We see Archie and Jughead go to a booth, and Veronica's like, oh, it's the boys. Oh, it looks like they're having a boy talk. Never mind. Veronica says we should keep this from Kevin.
They literally just like all don't talk to each other. And I'm like, this is not a big restaurant.
But only Veronica notices. We also see Josie and Cheryl at a separate booth, and Cheryl wants her to drink tea. Uh-oh. Jughead leaves for the night, and Pop's phone rings. Pop picks it up and listens and then hangs up the phone. He's like, yep, that was the Black Hood. We failed the test.
These children, it's literally just the diner has 6 children in it. That's it.
Well, everybody, we failed. Go tell your parents. And we're all sinners, and the reckoning is upon us. The end.
Okay. So many thoughts. So many thoughts. Jughead is the dumbest motherfucker. Like, he should not have joined a gang. He should just be, like, learning street smarts. Because if someone told me, oh, you have to go do this because your parent got beat up, I want eyes. I want eyes on my parent first to make sure they're beat up.
100%.
You see this coming from a mile away, and you're like, why is this boy so stupid? And he joined the... he wants to lead the Serpents?
Mm-hmm.
Can't even lead himself.
Yeah. Now he's stuck in this... really stupid deal. It's really bad.
I did for a moment think, I was like, oh, is our mystery driver, our scary guy, is he a vampire? Because like the blood covered deer could mean that he had drank the blood of the deer, but it lived, you know.
Right.
And then he was taking the other one for a snack for the road.
Maybe
he was a vampire.
I know, could be. I was like, are the Cullens nearby? Yeah, it's similar woods, similar environment.
It's like a woodsy...
Just a bit north.
Yeah, I thought maybe that was the vibe.
Yeah. It works okay. He's kind of like this threatening presence, but I don't think it's a super exciting
It doesn't make any fucking sense. So... I think, like, I get that they wanted to bring this character in to tell this scary story, but they could have done it anyway. They could have brought this man in and done something really cool with him. And instead they said, we're going to have him pick up Jughead. He's going to offer to drive him, knowing that Jughead is probably carting drugs. And then he's going to take his money and then get mad at him when he doesn't pay at a diner.
Yeah.
And then leave him there and let him take the drugs out of the back.
That's kind of...
He let Archie and Jughead take the drugs out of the back.
What's he gonna do with them?
What the fuck? It's like, what? Why pick up Jughead at all?
Yeah, very true.
Like, I know for us as the viewer, it's like, oh, is he gonna kill Jughead?
Yeah, is he gonna lash out?
Is he gonna try to kill Jughead? But for, like, when you think from, like, a character's perspective, there's no motivation for any of that scene.
Yeah. And it's
like, he's like, I know you're a sinner. And I'm like, so what was the plan? Just to make him pay for dinner?
Yeah. It's not a compelling story of like, it's ominous, but I don't think it was.
But there's no
exciting.
Motivation.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I can understand. Yeah. I don't have a good way of like extrapolating what this kind of story is trying to tell us.
Well, and that this man's like, oh yeah, like I knew you boys out there with that cart, like you were sinners. It's like, then why? Were you picking him up to punish him? In which case, was the punishment just leaving him there? Mm-hmm. Were you going to leave him with his box of drugs, or were you going to take that?
Right.
And what's the dead deer for?
Mm-hmm. That he might kill him. There's like the references to hunting. Yeah. Yeah. It's a mess.
It's weak.
Yeah.
And it's annoying because it's like, oh, you got this good actor and you've got this like really cool way you could like, I don't know, maybe there's a nod to a movie I haven't seen in this somewhere, but I can't figure out anyone's motivation.
No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. None of this plot line works for me because Jughead would never not go check to see if his dad was okay first. And this man wouldn't pick him up and Archie wouldn't go with him to run drugs. Like,
I don't know about that. Archie, we talked about Archie being very loyal.
Archie's very loyal, but he's also he'd be like, Jughead, we can't do this. We need to go to Mayor McCoy.
But that's why he's like, well, I don't think he would try to go to Mayor McCoy and then Jughead would talk him down and then they'd end up driving. This is just like Betty not saying anything about the Black Hood. Like, he's going to stick by and like, okay, well, if I'm there, I can at least try and help my friend, make him see the light.
Then he would have never let Jughead go off on his own.
Yeah. I think because he didn't want to stand up to the farmer. I think Archie. I understand Archie in this, but I don't think it's compelling.
Oh.
It's just thin.
Yeah, it does. It's a great way for us to learn about the Riverdale Reaper, but we could have done it anyway. It would have been cool. It's like, oh, they went to the library to get a book, and there was this creepy man in the corner talking about the Riverdale Reaper. You know what I mean? Like,
you could have done it all next
in a parking
episode.
lot. You could have done it like literally anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, the Josie plotline. One, the fact that she keeps being out after dark after her mother asks her not to be is so baffling to me because there's literally a murderer in town. Like, I get not wanting to listen to your parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone murdering people.
Yeah.
She's a petite girly.
This is our same recommendation to Kevin.
Exactly. And Kevin's not a petite girly, but it's still not safe.
Mm-hmm. There's a literal murderer.
There's a literal murderer. I really like at first that you get to see Cheryl and Josie's friendship and that it's a real friendship. Like it's the back and forth of like, I'm mad. No, I'm not mad. Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry. I was lashing out at you. Like you can tell they really have a solid friendship, as they should. And then they try to make my girl Cheryl Blossom a fucking creep.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, is it the janitor? Is it Chuck? Because they're all eyeing Josie weird and being protective.
Is it Cheryl because she's jealous?
Yeah. Like she's trying to keep Josie all to herself. And then it's playing into a lot of things that we talked about last time. Of like, oh no, she's overly obsessive. This quote unquote crazy woman.
Well, and this crazy, like it's also a horrible way to introduce the idea that Cheryl is potentially bisexual or lesbian. Like it's like that she's obsessed with her friend. And it's like you get crushes on your friend. Like I'm not, that's totally normal and fine, but it's the way that they do it that just feels so cruel. And also because it comes right after her being assaulted and then she's like, so like I'm like, what is the intentionality behind this narrative?
Yeah. I think,
and is it a trauma response? And so I worry it could come off as invalidating.
Yeah, completely.
And so I don't particularly like that.
Yeah, I think it falls into our forever reference point, but we brought it up last week too. The Gone Girl thing of like, oh, the people in your life, like it might be the person you least suspect.
The person you trust the most might be trying to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. But then you extrapolate out of like, oh, it's a girl, and exactly what you pointed out there. Potentially like queer narrative too of being, and then also being overly possessive, and it's
and it's like this idea like you should be afraid of your friend who has a crush on you. When it's just like you can just be like no thank you and move on. Everyone's fine.
Harmful stereotypes of how we've depicted, gay people and queer people in the past. So
not my favorite. No. And I mean I don't 100% remember how this narrative pans out, but the read on it right now is not my favorite.
Yeah. This episode plays it up a lot because it's like, oh, it was Cheryl doing it the whole time, and it's like,
But was it? Where'd she get the pig heart?
I don't know. She's rich.
That is very like grim fairy tale, you know?
Yeah. I think the structure of these individual tales is not bad.
No, it's kind of fun to do this and to tie them all together. Like you have this Cheryl's like out of my way, Bert and Ernie is kind of like the connecting device between the narratives.
We go back to Betty at the beginning and at the beginning of her thing, and then telling you see all the way these like branch off and interconnect. Whoops. But the actual content of the first two is kind of a stinker.
Yes.
But then the third,
we get Betty doing my favorite thing, which is picking a lock with bobby pins.
Oh.
I love a girly who can pick a lock with bobby pins.
It's in the first season where she's like explaining what she did and Veronica's like, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Or like, yeah, she knows how to do XX and X with the locks and the cars and all that. Yeah. So the Betty Veronica, it's an affair versus the Black Hood. It's hilarious. They could have done the whole episode about this and I would have been eating it up.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Because and they could have really played with it and like drawn it out and it would have been funny. Which would have given us a nice like bit of levity, even though like the results are grim and obviously sad. Mm-hmm. Because Kevin's mom is on a Navy base. Yeah,
which we had at least answered the question that we were asking of like, wait, they've mentioned stuff about Kevin's mom. What is up with Kevin's mom? So apparently still in the picture because Sheriff Keller is having an affair.
But could he be having an affair and being the Black Hood? Could he be a busy bee?
That's true.
Who says a man can't have it all?
Exactly. Who says that every time he leaves the house at weird hours in the morning?
That it's always to go have an affair with Mayor McCoy.
And that he's always going over to the McCoys to weirdly also try and parent Josie.
That's true. Ooh, yeah. Very mom and dad here.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
It's weird. I know in that scene he technically does have information about the Black Hood, but he's not doing that to everybody else.
That's true. Also, like, when you know someone is coming around, like, doing, like, a moral, like, reckoning, is it really the time to start an affair? How long has he been having this affair?
Right. They've been pretty close through the 2 seasons. So, but it does make it seem, according to Kevin, like he's not sleeping. He's leaving the house late. Yeah. So maybe he's been interested.
Yeah. Maybe it's like he's more stressed about it. So.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that
we're pulling for you, Tom.
The thing that I like think is hilarious is like he's like, if he's the Black Hood, like he's literally like, here's all my evidence, Betty. Like, this man will always help a child solve a murder case. There's so many scenes and so many episodes where he's like, okay, here, Betty, here, Archie, here, whoever, let me give you all the details I can.
He treats them like adults.
I like the transparency. He does, and he treats Kevin like an adult. Mm-hmm. But is he also parentifying children? Mm. Where's the line?
Right.
How old are these children? It's very wishy-washy in Riverdale, too.
16-ish.
Well, and it plays with kind of that older school where it's like, well, like at 16, aren't you basically an adult? You know, like there's like the weird mentalities we have around like teenagers feel grown, but are they? Mm-hmm. And
yeah, it's fun within the genre convention of a YA show, but
it's not good in reality.
Yeah.
There's a huge, developmental gap there. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting. Also, he's like, here's my logbook. You are the sheriff. Who do you think checks your logbook, buddy? That'd be like me writing. I'm like, would you like to see my alibi? Here's my diary entry from that day. Like, I could have written it right now.
Here's also the certificate I printed from myself saying I'm innocent.
You're just like, okay, I don't know.
Oh, let me ask myself if I'm guilty. Branson, are you guilty? No, you're not guilty. Good, I'm not guilty.
Some of the things are helpful because he's like, oh, I was here at this day, which means other people would have seen him there and known he was there. And other times you're like, that's not helpful.
Yeah, that's yourself.
But all in all, like, it was a fun episode, but I was not like, it was all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
Are you ready for the House of the Devil?
Oh. Yes, I'm ready. Should we jump right into it?
Up to you.
Let's do it.
Oh, I forgot this is the I Love You episode.
Yeah, see...
This is good teen drama. We'll get to it, but...
Yeah. When we were talking about being annoyed at will they, won't they's, it's mostly Jetty and Bughead. That's what I almost did.
Well, correct.
Yes. Jetty.
Why'd they call him Bughead? They could have called him Jetty.
Jetty, exactly. Well, that's where the relationship ends up. So, chapter 21, House of the Devil. The episode title comes from Ty West's Ty West, 2009 American horror film of the same name. The episode also marks the first absence of Casey Cott as Kevin Keller.
Yeah.
He's not in this episode. So.
Rude.
I know. All right. Jughead narrates from the White Worm. We get a supercut of Archie and Veronica hooking up. On the floor of the lodge penthouse, Archie worries about the parents coming home. He tells Veronica he loves her and they both freak out. Archie makes an excuse to leave and Veronica stops him to tell him that the night was amazing. Oh, during the supercut, Cheryl also calls them xenomorphs.
Yeah, because they're like making out at the school.
Which is the alien from Aliens, from the Alien franchise.
Oh.
Jughead meets Betty at Pop's. He found information on the Riverdale Reaper, and the story of the family murder was real. The Reaper would be in his 60s by now. The house was at the edge of Fox Forest, and Betty realizes it's the same house that she was told to visit by the Black Hood. Jughead wants to talk to Sheriff Keller about this, and Betty says she can't because of her accusations toward him. It's awkward now. Betty doesn't want to go back to the house either. Fair enough. Jughead gets a call from an unknown number, and it's from his dad. Jughead tells all his friends that his dad is getting out of jail. Veronica asks what happened, and Jughead gives an excuse and says jail overcrowding. That doesn't stop them from releasing people. Betty asks Veronica and Archie to follow up on a lead for them. Betty also says she's taking a break from investigating for a little bit. Cheryl notices Josie's back has tons of tension, and Cheryl goes to rub her back. See, this is like...
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And then Mr. Svensson goes into the women's locker room, accidentally apologizes because he thought it was empty. Cheryl yells at him and then says later to Josie he should be fired and investigated. Veronica comes home to Sheriff Keller leaving. Hermione and Hiram tells her that the Black Hood gave them a letter threatening them. Sheriff Keller says that lots of households got the same letter, and the lodgers just aren't worried. And they're like, hey, you know what would help stay around your big buff boyfriend more. And she's like, oh, God damn it. The one time, Betty asks to borrow her mom's car to pick up FP. She also tells Alice Jughead is a serpent now, and Betty asks her to give him the benefit of the doubt. Jughead announces to the serpents that FP's coming home and that they have plans to sit down with the mayor. Tallboy's like, what the hell? I don't want to meet with Mayor McCoy. And Jughead's like, well, I know I've only been around for like a few minutes, but I've been hearing you've been talking about me behind my back. And, you know, men talk to each other's faces, and like serpents, let's put a vote. Who's with the plan to go talk to the mayor? And Jughead wins and Tallboy leaves angry. Archie's,
you know who really runs the serpents though?
Tony
Topaz. She's like,
from the back.
pull it to the boat.
She suggests it.
Yeah.
And then she's also the first to vote.
Tony Topaz runs the bar, the White Worm, the school, and the serpents. And who gets the recognition?
That's what we're talking about.
Men.
Mm-hmm. The unseen labor of women.
It's seen, though. We see it.
Unrecognized?
Yeah.
Is what it... There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
No, I mean, it is often the unseen labor, but in this case, I'm like, we see it.
It's on the screen.
I've seen it.
Tony's the multi-hyphenate.
I was just getting angry. It's okay. So you were correct.
Okay. I was like, I don't know what the proper term is.
I was impassioned.
It's fair enough. Archie's at the lodges. Veronica wants to investigate the murder house and tells Archie about the letter. Archie asks her if they're good and wants to talk about what he said. And Veronica's like, can we just not? Archie vents
as a non-avoidant person, I find this so weird. Like, I cannot function until I address the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will pick at something until, we address it.
Some of us had to go to therapy to avoid or to move on from our avoidance tendencies.
Our avoidance.
That's how deeply ingrained it is in me.
Well, because it's always like they tell the people who aren't avoidant that you have to be patient. And it's like, I do not. This is urgent.
No, and it's really on the avoidant people that really need to get it together.
Well,
speaking from my perspective.
It depends on the thing, and it depends on how much time. And, there's lots to it. But there's nuance.
No nuance. Black and white.
I am not living in a world of nuance anymore.
The other thing I went to therapy about, black and white thinking. Archie.
Therapy got too expensive for you? Ask Brenton to recap his session.
That's right.
Over on our Patreon.
All right. Armchair Psychology, brought to you by BetterHelp. Archie
brought to you by Secondhand Help.
Just as dangerous.
I'm just like backseat diagnosing everyone.
That's right. They don't even they say like a couple words and
I'm like OCD, anxiety,
undiagnosed autism.
Me and my ADHD over here, we're deciding what you have.
Make it fast.
Not accurate, but it's timely.
Oh, God. Archie vents to his dad about him and Veronica. Veronica also tells her parents about the same thing. Fred tells him not to worry about it. Hermione says, it's not about what Archie said. It's more about whether you're ready to hear it.
Like every now and then Hermione just pops out a line and you're like, wow, she parented today.
Yeah. What's up with you, Hermione?
You feeling okay?
Exactly. Jughead and Betty pick up FP, and Alice is also there.
Well, she drives.
Yes, and she goes, FP, is it true what they say about men in prison being super sexually frustrated?
When they get out. Yes. Okay, so this is the beginning. Well, really the beginning was that dinner a while ago, but the beginning of one of my favorite romantic...
They lay it on thick in this episode.
Yeah, romantic tensions, which is FP and Alice Cooper. If you asked me which couple I ship the hardest on this show, I'm going to tell you right now that I would create a ship right here for them. That's my ship.
That's why they had to get...
I will go down with that ship. I don't think it's good.
That's why they had to break up Betty and Jughead, because things get weird.
I mean, they do it in Gossip Girl.
That's true. It is a teen staple.
It's totally a teen staple of like, well, and then their parents get together.
Staple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you only have so many actors. I understand. Recurring things.
Well, and why wouldn't, if someone's so much like their parents, why wouldn't they like...
And then Pretty Little Liars, they blur the line between parents and children in one instance.
Well, Pretty Little Liars lives in a world where logic is not only disregarded, but it's actually actively rejected and fought against. And that's why we love her.
It's so funny. At Pops, Alice says, watch out for the Black Hood going after sinners when you go back to the Serpents. And FP's like, I'm not going back to the Serpents. I'm getting a job at Pops. And actually, Alice, I'm in AA, so suck it. Oh, he also says he was in Shaw prison. Shawshank being the famous, yeah. Veronica and Archie visit Sheriff Keller about the murder house. They couldn't find the files They visit Sheriff Keller about the murder house, and they wanted to find files from the case of the Riverdale Reaper, but they couldn't find those files. Sheriff Keller says the old sheriff might have taken him home because he was the one working on the cold case before me, but he died 2 years ago, but his daughter might have him. So they're like, okay, cool. They call his daughter, and she's like, oh my God, don't even bring this up. I can't believe it. He was so obsessed with that house. He'd always go down there. Doesn't want to talk to them. And Archie's like, well, we have to go to the house. And Veronica says, what if the devil's home? Jughead and FP go for...
what if we have to go to the devil's house, and it's like, what if he's home?
Mm-hmm. Jughead and FP go for a motorcycle ride. FP asks if... So they each
have individual motorcycles.
It'd be so much better if it was a little sidecar.
But Jughead just wasn't riding his?
Apparently not.
Until...
It was just under the tarp.
And Betty didn't know about it? Or does just FP have two motorcycles?
But it had the little etching of the crown.
Well, I'm not saying he didn't brand it.
That's true. He's like, son, this will be yours. Keeping it up for you. That seems like an FP thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give it to him with the MacBook.
That's right. What a Christmas. FP asks if Penny has bothered him, and Jughead's like, tells him about doing just one job, but it was one time. FP's like, I don't want you with the Serpents, and I don't want you to end up like me. And also mentions that he was, like, his path to the Serpents was that he had gotten kicked out of his home when he was young, joined the Serpents, then joined the military to try and find, like, some structure, and then came back and joined the Serpents again. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So FP's a veteran. I mean, I think that's actually, they don't really get into that, but I think that's a really compelling backstory.
I wish they really did get into it more.
I know. Yeah, because of that makes sense, because a lot of people join the military because it's like, well, I need structure in my life. Mm-hmm. And like America offers you really good benefits for joining the military. Unfortunately, it's a really messed up process. Jughead says and it preys on people that are in vulnerable positions. Mm-hmm. Jughead says he wants to stay in the Serpents and wants FP's blessing. FP says, as long as you keep riding. FP works a shift at Pops. We love his uniform. Josie and Cheryl are at Pops, and Josie got an offer from Reggie's dad to sing for his car lot, and Cheryl thinks it's beneath her. Cheryl sees FP, gets annoyed, and knocks over her milkshake on the floor and makes FP clean it up like he did, and she says, like you did my brother. FP tells Jughead to back off, and he cleans up the milkshake, and Jughead's like, he doesn't deserve to be demeaned. He's a man of the men. He's like a king of men or something like that. It's like, okay, Jughead, calm down.
Jughead, he was in a gang. He was the leader of a biker gang.
Betty says,
I mean, in the same way that Cheryl's the leader of the Vixens. I mean, we all got our kingdoms, but like,
yeah. Calm down on the language here.
Let's just chill out. We're in Pop's kingdom right now, so I feel like maybe we should all be nice.
That's right. Betty says, why don't we throw a party for FP, a retirement party? Betty visits Tony to plan the party at the White Worm.
Why they have it at the White Worm and not Pop's is beyond me.
Especially since like FP isn't supposed to be at the White Worm, which we find out later. Like legally. Betty also vents about being worried about Jughead being in danger and that she wants to keep an eye on him herself and she wants to be around, so, maybe join the Serpents. And a Serpent tells her, like, hey, well, you'll have to do the Serpent dance, and then points to a dancer on a stripper pole. And Tony's like, well, it's a sexist tradition. Don't worry about it. And Betty's like, oh, I'm interested.
Which makes me go, at what age did Tony join the Serpents?
Uh-huh. Interesting.
And what song did she do? Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And did she have to do it karaoke style? Is the karaoke requirement?
Did she also sing sorry.
Is the karaoke a requirement of the Serpent dance, or is it just the dance?
I hope it's required. That girl's just dancing up there. You gotta sing.
Fucking weird.
FP and Jughead come home with dinner. Jughead gets a call and is like, oh, it's Archie. I'll be right back. Turns out it's actually Penny, who wants him at Pops. He then goes to Pops and says he wants out. Penny says this is a long-term agreement. Jughead threatens to go to Mayor McCoy, and Penny's like, well, you need proof, and you don't have any. Jughead threatens her and goes to leave, and she brings up Betty and is like, oh, isn't that your weak point? Veronica and Archie...
Every serpent has a soft underbelly.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Veronica and Archie visit the House of the Devil. We get a recreation of the Riverdale Reaper making his kills in black and white. Archie and Veronica visit the different rooms, and Veronica sees carvings in the door measuring height and finds that there's 3 sets of initials listed. Archie finds a case of the old sheriff files, and they find a photo of the family and find that the family was actually a family of 5. Jughead catches up with Tony, and Tony asks if Penny has asked him for more favors. Betty tells Alice about planning FP's party, and she says she don't say anything, Mom. You were a serpent, so you don't have any leg to stand on.
Where is her tattoo?
Yeah, that's true. I think it's like an ankle tattoo or something.
Oh my gosh. Wouldn't you think Betty would have seen it?
Oh, yeah, probably. Alice goes to Pops to yell at FP, and FP's like, hey, I didn't set this up. Go down yourself and chaperone the kids if you're worried. And he's like, she's like, well, what do I do about Hal? And he's like, leave him at home or whatever. And they have like a, oh. Archie and Veronica tell Jughead and Betty that the missing Conway child, which is the family that got killed by the Riverdale Reaper, was a boy who was adopted and his name was changed to protect him. Jughead worries that the Black Hood is that boy. Jughead and Betty tell them about FP's party and half-heartedly invite them. They're like, oh, we didn't tell you about this? You can come. If someone invited me that way, I'd be like, well, that's fine. I don't need to come, I guess. Why are you so weird?
Well, we know why Betty's being weird.
Right. Mm-hmm.
She got plans.
But they come anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't go. Veronica and Archie.
Oh, yes, because you're always just like rearing and ready to go to a party.
Yeah, that's true. Ooh, you're inviting me to something that I can cancel on? Veronica and Archie continue the investigation. Veronica finds an old yearbook photo that she's like, this could be the boy. They find out that it's Mr. Svensson, the janitor. They go to see him in the hall and they say, we know you're Joseph Conway. And then he tries to run and Archie catches him. He's like, I don't know why I ran. I got scared because no one has called me that in years. He tells him about that night and that he escaped out the window and saw the killer's face. A group of men asked him to identify the killer and he did. And the group of men ended up killing him. Veronica still thinks it's him, but Archie says his eyes don't match the Black Hood. So it couldn't be Mr. Svensson. Hermione asks Veronica how things are with her and Archie, and Veronica's like, I realized that through this side project, I just keep trying to avoid the conversation, and Veronica realized that she's like never even heard her parents say they love each other once. Fred catches up with Archie on things, and Archie's like, I don't want to lose Veronica, and Fred's just like, give her time. It's FP's party. Jughead surveys the white worm as Alice and Betty come in, and Alice is in fully her serpent clothes. We love it. And it's like she never left because she goes around and she's like, hey, how's it going? I couldn't get Betty to dress properly. And it's like, hey, it's you. And they have like almost like a handshake, but it's like words they say back and forth. Like they have like their own like catchphrase between each other. And then she starts slamming shots with the bartender. It's great.
And she checks if Betty wants a Shirley Temple.
That's right.
She's mothering.
A good mom. She's like, you want anything, Betty? Maybe a Shirley Temple? And then has like 3 shots. We love it. And then Betty turns to Jughead is like, I have a surprise for you later. And that's also to the audience as well. Archie asks to talk to Veronica and tells her she shouldn't feel pressure to say she loves him yet. And she's like, thank you. And he starts acting passive aggressive. She shouldn't have felt safe to not say it. It's the most like young dude thing ever to just be mean about this. If you're going to be hurt, you got to be upfront about it, boy. They sing a duet to, he's like, hey, I put up on the karaoke request for us to sing a duet to that song you like from Donnie Darko. Turns out to be Gary Jules' Mad World.
Which, like, so he put this up thinking they were not going to be fighting. Imagine being like, this is our
happy song.
This is our fun karaoke song.
And it brings the vibe of the entire party down. Veronica runs off stage mid-song, and Archie goes to follow, and all the serpents are like, boo!
I mean, boo them while they're up there. Why boo them when they leave?
Betty's then, now's my chance, and runs on stage and starts singing the song. She then starts doing a striptease. Jughead looks very confused. Betty starts dancing on the pole a little, and Alice rounds the corner and is upset. The song finishes, and everyone applauds, and FP comes up, and he's like, hey, give her a hand, and puts a jacket over her.
He puts a serpent jacket over her.
Oh,
but I don't know if it's his serpent jacket.
I would, yeah.
So is it him being like, thank you, Betty, now cover up?
Yeah, but it could be a little imagery of both.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
She's
good.
in.
FP says he's been in and out of the Serpents and they've always stood by him. Apparently, the lawman doesn't want me coming down here and being around you good folks, but I'm going to defy those court orders. Alice tries to get Betty to leave, and Betty says she's staying, and Alice is like, I can't stay. And then FP's like, I'm not retiring. And everybody's like, whoa. FP talks to Jughead afterwards, and he's like, I know about Penny and your debt. FP says he's in now with Jughead's out, and Penny is his problem now, and then turns to his son, and he goes, you broke my heart. Damn.
Well, actively breaking Jughead's heart.
Mm-hmm. Archie and Veronica argue outside. He tries to reassure her it's fine if she doesn't say I love you, and Veronica's like, it does matter, and apologizes for not being able to say she loves him, and leaves. Jughead meets with Betty outside, and he's upset about the dance, and she's like, I just want to be a part of your world. And Jughead's like, well, I'm dragging you down. I'm dragging my dad down. And Betty's like, we'll figure it out together. And Jughead's like, no, I'm not listening to you. If we stay together, you'll get hurt. Betty's like, it's not your decision. And Jughead's like, it is. And Betty says, how many times are we going to push each other away? To which we all ask, how many times are they going to do this?
And Jughead says, until it sticks.
Yeah. I ruined my dad's one chance of going straight. I'm not going to wreck you too. Jughead narrates that the activities that night shook everything up. We see Joseph Conway, aka Mr. Svensson, looking at a photo of himself and 4 other guys with shovels over dirt.
Like they took a commemorative photo of the
Hey, we killed the bastard. And then Archie and Betty stare at each other across the windows like, oh, maybe there's something there and we're both lonely.
Well, and Jughead's narration is like, and for the first time, like Archie really saw the girl next door or something.
Yeah,
like that.
or like old feelings being rekindled.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Which makes me so mad because Archie's only looking at Betty because he knows Betty can love him, that Betty does and would have loved him,
Mm-hmm.
and he did not love her.
Yeah.
He treated her in the way that Veronica is treating him, and yet he is mad at Veronica?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's different because it's a different stage in a relationship, but it's a similar.
Yeah. I think this is actually, God, excuse me, from the top. I think this is actually good. I think that's good. It's a good relationship genre between Archie and Veronica, and I think it casts Archie in a bad light, and I think that's good. Mm-hmm. He can't be upfront with his feelings with Veronica about, like, he is, but he can't fully ever be like, I need you to say this back to me or we can't be together, even though FP's like trying to coax him of like, give her time. It doesn't mean she doesn't like you.
His dad, right?
Oh yeah, I said FP. Fred, the other F father name. Like trying to like give her time and things, but Archie can't do that. He's not capable of doing that, and so won't ever say anything. And then so it just ends up being this kind of like snowball train wreck where he starts acting passive aggressively toward her, and then because he's like weird and like lonely, starts like looking at other places.
Well, and also like he is emotionally vulnerable, and he immediately has like the vulnerability shame because she does not match his vulnerability, and he expects and requires that vulnerability from her without any sort of consideration for how her life may not have set her up to know how to approach that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fucking weird because you're just like, I mean, it's not weird. It's a teenage boy. It's
exactly. Yeah, they both don't have the skills to be able to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
He expressed his feelings. She didn't say back, and now they're in this weird lurch where it's like, oh, neither of us know what this is supposed to look like then. Like, Archie's like, well, this is supposed to look like where we both say we love each other. And Veronica's like, I can still be with you, but I can't go there because I'm from a home where like
we don't say that.
This has never been modeled to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like this sort of vulnerability.
This feels very large for me.
Mm-hmm. And they do not have the tools to be able to deal with this.
Mm-hmm. Saying I love you can be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I think it's interesting of showing Veronica, she's not like in the bad light or like a bad person. It's just, and it's that she doesn't not like Archie. It's that she has a lot to deal with in her personal life before she can be able to be vulnerable with someone.
Like emotionally with someone.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really well done for this. Not for this. I think it's really well done. And I think it's a compelling way of showing, or a compelling narrative to put behind a relationship within a show of doing that kind of like tumultuous will they, not even will they, won't they, but just like the ups and downs of like trying to grow.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the Mr. Svensson Conway House of the Devil plotline that this is all named after, I think it's ironic that that really is for now at least, we see it as a dead end. Like, it is, the House of the Devil is not where like the true like horrors in the town are currently happening. A horrible thing happened there, but the horrors of the town are now like the people that are like out there doing all these horrible things and like actively being quote unquote sinful, according to the Black Hood. I say do what you want, within reason. But I think it's really interesting because it's like there's this whole plot line of them chasing down this only for it to basically be like well, this man got his justice and then that was enough and that's it and that's the end.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Mm-hmm. But that it has a similar, and it's also a similar tenor of like what the Black Hood's crusade is supposed to be, like going after people that have wronged other people.
This like purity concept.
Mm-hmm. But in this case, you kind of understand why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is the revenge against something that's done to you versus revenge against something that you perceive as a blight on society are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And we have one of those as a problem right now in our country.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Persistent.
Yeah.
Maybe also kind of like what we're talking about in this show too, of this simmering white male rage.
Mm-hmm. It's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Not as a plotline, but people.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I want to talk about the most is the Serpent dance.
Oh, yeah.
Because besides the song being the song, it is intentionally uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It is framed as misogynistic from the beginning. And Betty really does... She really takes action to show the people that she loves them and that she's willing to do anything to protect them. And I just think it's such a funny, weird way to do it.
It is a wild thing to see in the episode. It's like extremely surprising because it's until like you kind of get like Chekhov's pole at the beginning of the episode. You're like, oh God, this is going to happen later.
Yeah, until this season, I feel like the Serpents didn't even have pole dancers. It was just like the White Worm was just like a place that they went and drank and like there was a pool table.
Mm-hmm. And it's not in the way you expect either. But and just to the point of the intentionality behind it, there is a interview. It was in Glamour, I saw a Glamour article that had taken an interview with Lily Reinhart about this because this had caused quite a stir, of course, like after seeing it, because it's like a very like wild and definitely controversial amongst people scene, because it is within the context of the show like a 16-year-old doing it in front of like adults and things, and Lily Reinhart's like, they didn't make me do it, like I was planned and part of this, like I co-signed the entire thing, like I choreographed the dance, like they worked with me directly on this, like,
and the lingerie is like literally like a tankini, like I've worn less to the beach.
Right, yes.
Which I think also like it's very Betty, and it hammers home the point of like what she's doing, and that this is something she's doing authentically for herself because she cares so much about Jughead.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very empowered choice, which is really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And then
and like her mom did it obviously at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We assume Tony's done it. Like the idea that this group of men still treat girls and women that way, even though they seem to be the glue and the backbone of this organization, and by that I mean Tony,
mm-hmm.
is very, and I mean their only lawyer, it's very, I mean it feels very appropriate for the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. But it speaks to exactly what the intention that you're talking about, and their intention behind the scene of this is a really kind of like gross act that they make like initiates do, and that it is the really gross feeling of having this like young adult, not even young adult, this teenage girl like doing a strip tease and
the
things
actress
in front
herself is a young adult, but the character is a teenager.
Doing a sexy dance in front of like a crowd of men. I think it is still like I get the concept behind it. I understand it there. It is still a wild thing to see on screen of like this sexy dance happening to like a really somber piece of music that definitely provokes a reaction out of you of being like, oh my God, like what's going on?
Well, and I think it is reflective of how it is interpreted. Like Jughead takes it as such a somber, negative, sinking feeling. Even Alice, it's like, oh, I've lost control. Like they've all lost control of Betty. And so it is, well, for her, it may be empowering. We don't really get her, like, she doesn't seem to care like about like the act of doing it. She does not seem necessarily apprehensive or like upset that she did it or anything like that. The only part she gets upset about is when Jughead is being a dick. But it's the fact that she does this thing and they all have such like somber reactions to it. And as a society, we should feel uncomfortable with this concept.
Right.
Like there's an intentionality behind why it is presented in a way that is uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I think the thing that ends up sucking about this scene just in the structure of the plot is that it leads to the Betty and Jughead like they won't like split again at the end. I hate that that's the like
where this ends.
Yeah, because it kind of shuts down any conversation. It's just like, oh, you got in too deep, I'm hurting you, so now I need to move away again. And it's like, this is the exact same reaction again. Like nobody is growing, nobody is changing. It's like we're stuck in the same like pattern.
But she really hasn't, because technically now she's a serpent.
Right.
And he can decide what he wants about how much he wants her around, but FP makes those decisions now. If FP's back and he's the leader of the serpents, like Jughead's lost his control.
Yeah. And so he's like, well, then I got to move away. I can't like be with you. Oh, and just the weirdness of like the scene and the initiation stuff, going back to last week of talking about like hypermasculinity and like hyperfemininity of the like girls like coming to the rescue of Cheryl, and then also the masculinity of the serpent initiation for Jughead. Like the differences between the two different serpent initiations for like men and women of like big strong men punch each other and go through these crazy trials, and women is just like get up there and do like a sexy dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really all I have for this episode, is kind of like my reactions to that, because like the dance really kind of takes it.
It's a wild scene. Like it's absolutely just is what am I trying to say? Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, what is going on?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Well?
Yeah, I don't think it was the strongest week this week.
No. But we middle three somehow.
We did. But yeah, that's all. I didn't have anything else, so move on to our plugs. You can find this podcast on all your audio podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. You can also find us on YouTube, where you can see us and our smiling faces in our apartment at dead_ends. You can also, please like, subscribe, leave us 5 stars on your podcast platform of choice. It all helps us get found. We're a small, humble little podcast. Tell people you know, share it. That also helps. What else? You can also send emails and we'll read them on air at depictions@gmail.com if you've got questions or topics that you want to talk about. We will, if you have like things that you want to talk about for future spoilers, I think that's best to send to the email. If you have reactions to the current episodes and things that went out, please leave a comment on YouTube. We love talking to people there. And we're also on Blue Sky. You can also, our profile on Blue Sky is dead-ends at Bisky. And then our email was deadendspcast@gmail.com. And the link to that is in the show notes for every time. And you can also find our link trees on there for our personal Blue Skies.
Well, we don't fit in.
We're not going to fit in.
And we love you.
We love you. Goodbye.